Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Homefront Harmony. I am your host, Stevie Dahl. This is the podcast for military families, providing resources for mental health, well-being, and financial so you can get what you need. I am so very excited about our guest today. Not only did he serve our country, but he also continues to serve his fellow veterans in the work he's doing now. So it is my honor, my privilege, my pleasure to introduce to you to Mr. Bill Emmel. Did I say your last name right,
Yes.
Bill? Okay. It looks easy, but I would be afraid I would not do it okay.
People still mess it up. They'll call it Emmanuel, email.
I bet you get some fun ones.
Yeah,
I bet you get some fun ones. Maiden name's George. All the time people give me like, Jorge? No.
Yep.
No. So, all right. Now, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for giving us the time today to talk to us because it's very important. One of the things I was curious about is what actually led you into your military service?
Ironically, it's kind of funny.
Okay.
I was a long distance runner in high school and college.
Okay.
My track coach was Mr. Cummings was also, and when he was in college, he ran with a gentleman called Billy Mills. He was an American Indian. He won the 68 10,000 meters.
Oh, yeah.
And also Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh.
A lot of people don't know he did track.
Okay.
And what happened with Billy was because he's American Indian, he was discriminated against because of the alcoholism and stuff like that. So he ended up joining the Marines and ran for the Marines. I was in college. I was with my first wife. It was kind of hard to because I didn't really need to work, but it couldn't really be a two-person thing. So I was like, one day we were talking, I'm like, I'll join the Army. I'll run for the Army. I didn't want to, no offense to the Marines, but my stepbrother was a Marine and, the Marines. So I call them, crayon eaters, but they're all my friends. Most of my best friends here are Marines. That's why I give them a hard time.
Gotcha.
So I joined. However, I was too skinny for my height.
Oh, okay.
So when I get into basic, they put me on extra ration. So I was like the first one in, last one out of every meal. So I went from 6'2", 138 pounds, running low nines for 2 miles, low 150s for 800 meters to 190 pounds of muscle. So obviously my time slowed down. So I was no longer fast enough to even be considered. I tried a couple times, didn't really work because then I wasn't spending enough time at home. And then I just said, I'll just start playing the old sports I used to play because I grew up playing football, baseball, basketball, but I was so small and skinny. Yeah. I was good, but I was just small and skinny.
Okay.
So, but once I got in there, and even in the military, I started playing football again. Actually in Japan, when I was in Japan, the Army wouldn't have a team, a tackle football team. So I actually played for Toyota. It was the Tokyo White Dolphins. I played a defensive back and wide receiver. And that was fun. It was just something different because now it was bigger. Now I wasn't, my freshman year in high school, I was 5'1", 100 pounds. My goodness. But by this time, I was about, 6'2", 190 something. So I was good size for, I did that, played softball and stuff like that. And while I was in the military police, because I originally went in military police. Oh, okay. And they used to have a height to weight proportionate requirement, and I was too tall for my weight.
Okay. So you fixed it.
Yeah.
You fixed it. Okay. Well, there we go. I love it. Now, how long were you in service in the military?
22 years.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it greatly. And when you transitioned out of your military service, did you immediately go into the nonprofit world that you're in now? So how did that transition go?
Well, when I first got out and tried to get a job, right out of the bat, I got my 100% disability pretty quick. Actually, real quick compared to most people, like within 6 months, because I didn't start anything until I got out. Okay. Because it was kind of a sudden thing when I got out. I had gotten in some trouble when I was younger in the military, a few years prior to that. And they were just messing with people. And I said, I don't need to deal with this. I'm already at 22. So I just put my packet in. 2 weeks later, I was already out processing. It wasn't a big deal. So then I get to Vegas, because I'm originally from California. Okay. I came here because my parents moved here, my mom and my stepdad. And so I decided to come here. My first job was with Trans World Systems, which is the world's largest collections agency. ironically, with the stuff that happened where we live, that's why I got kind of animated about it, because I didn't agree with some stuff, but that's all good. But I did that, but I found out, although I'm good with some people, I'm very good with like warm introductions. I'm not a very good cold caller. I wouldn't be a very good realtor. Because I'm not good at cold calling. I can talk to people once I've met them, if there's some introduction, but I don't like the guy that was above me. He asked me a question one time. He's like, why are you? He's like, you have a very good long-term memory. I have no short-term memory because my brain damage, but I have very good long-term memory, so I can remember numbers and stuff like that once I get them and I've studied them. And he's like, what's harder, just going up and talking to somebody or, getting shot at? Mm-hmm. I'm like, going up and talking to people, because I got shot at for 22 years. I'm used to it. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But I worked with them for a while, and I was part of a business group called BNI.
Okay.
And when I stopped doing that, and I was starting my master's degree, because I have a master's in organizational leadership.
Okay.
And I was talking to one of the people at a Christmas party with my late wife, and he was asking me, why, what are you doing now? And I said, well, I decided to get my master's degree.
Okay.
And he's like, well, why aren't you doing something with veterans? He's like, literally the only time you look like you want to do what you're doing is when you're working with veterans. And and I thought about it, and I looked at my late wife and even talked to my nephew, and we said, well, let's start a nonprofit. Yeah. And it kind of the conversation got more serious when I went to the VA.
Okay.
And the VA says, hey, we're going to write you a letter so you can get a service dog. I said, okay, great. How do I pay for it, or how do I get it?
Right.
Because I'm, recently retired. I don't have a job at this point. I do have disability, but it's, in my retirement. And they said, we don't know. So I'm like, well, why don't we start a nonprofit to get service dog grants? So originally, when we started 22 Warriors Foundation, it was for service dog grants specifically. Gotcha. And never for me. It was always for other people. We'd raise money. We partnered with Michael's Angel Paws here, Stephanie Gherkin. They're a great organization. We used to do it like per actual team.
Okay.
But now we do it for that team per session.
Okay.
To make sure, because some people, when they get something, if you give it all to them at once, they'll go for a little bit and they'll stop. And that's what happened to them with a few of them. We were giving the money for them to do a complete session, like not session, but a training protocol, and they weren't doing it. So now we go per. Every time they go, we get a bill, an invoice, and then we pay the invoice per. Gotcha. And then from there, what it expanded was 10 months later, my wife committed suicide. And that kind of made me think about, okay, now it's not just veterans, though. It's also their family members.
It is.
Her dad was in the military. Her brother's right now is currently a Metro police officer. I don't know exactly what he does anymore. I don't want to say his name because I don't.
No, you're good. You're good. Don't worry about it.
But it kind of expanded, and then from there, we started talking to other people. That's when Cherie Peterson, around that time, came and joined us. She's our administrator. Like, to be honest, the person that really runs everything is Cherie. I do go into my hole.
Your hole, I like it.
A couple of times a year. I mean, it usually around different times of the year, because there's certain times of year where there's a lot of like around Christmas time, there's a lot of loss for me.
Oh yeah.
Between September to January, it's everywhere. Wife, my mom, my service dog, and that's not even counting the people I love.
But it's to me, what I appreciate greatly is your candid honesty about that. Sometimes we can't look at it as simply to say, like, I'm going in my hole at this point. I'm pulling back at this point. I'm going to have a rough time here. I need to focus on me at this point. And it's a constant conversation we have on this show. And we always say you are not alone. And if you think you are alone, you reach out to us and we will connect you with somebody. Because there are so many groups out there that a lot of military families have no idea are out there. And it's for every member. It's not just the service member. Everybody gets affected in a different way by it. So I love that you're so willing to be candid about that, because that's huge for others to know that, hey, not everybody's having the perfect day.
Well, it's because I see what it does. Like you may not know, but Jim knows. Like about 2 weeks ago, I had very long hair. I just cut my hair again, and it was because someone made a comment to me a few weeks back, and it was they said, and it's because of jiu-jitsu, I'm a black belt, and we have a veterans program that I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I go to it. It's at Team Octopus, Las Vegas.
Okay.
And the reason I go to it is because no matter what, if I go to those, at least I'm coming out. But someone made a comment saying, there's two different people that I roll with you. One with long hair, which are really laid back, and then you cut your hair and you're completely different. But then I started thinking, I noticed that was for everything. I wasn't doing as much with that foundation. The foundation, the way I set it up, it can pretty much run itself when I'm in my hole.
Gotcha.
Because I still want to help people.
Yep.
And to be honest, the reason why it's not a lot larger than it is because I want to be able to be part, just like Cherie, be right there helping the people, where we can do it a one-on-one or something like that, where you don't lose control of it. Like, Wounded Warriors Project, it is great for what it does, but it's too large.
It's massive. And
then the difference with us is when we tell people, like, and they'll ask us, if we donate to you, will it stay in Nevada? Well, we have 2 bank accounts. One's for 22 Warriors Foundation and one's for WSP Foundation. If you donate to 22 Warriors Foundation, it will stay here.
Okay.
Because that's our DBA for Nevada. WSP Foundation, Warrior Suicide Prevention Foundation, we will help people out of state.
Gotcha.
So if you donate to that, it may go here to Nevada, but it may go to somebody in Florida. There was a gentleman I was talking to yesterday that needed help. Unfortunately, with some people, when they ask for help, they're not willing to do the work they had to do.
Gotcha.
Usually we don't vet them. We send them to the VA, the CRC, the Community Resource and Referral Center. They do all the vetting, but also they know all their programs that they do, and they can vet this person, put them against what programs they do have to see if they can help them. If they can't, that's when they get a hold of us and say, hey, they're good, but we don't have anything for them. And then we see if we can do it, or we'll find one of our partners to help them out. Sometimes it's even, Randy Couture's foundation, Extreme Couture Foundation. Like they just had a ride yesterday. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go there because I was kind of broke. But sometimes we've referred people to them and they've helped them.
That's awesome.
So one of the things we focus, like Wounded Warriors, they absorbed a lot of other organizations. We don't absorb anybody. We partner.
Gotcha.
And when we partner, the idea is to get them, find out what they really need and find someone that's doing it so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
We have neurofeedback. I'm also a neurofeedback tech that I help with Dr. Dawn. I've trained my wife to do this, so now it's part of her business. So she's actually was my tech when I was doing my VA treatments.
Oh. There you go.
Because all she is a tech, she just hooks me up. There's no talking and neurofeedback, which is why a lot of veterans like it.
Okay.
My first couple of years in the VA, I had 5 different counselors. Okay. Every counselor I got, I had to retell a story, and I started getting very angry, and then I eventually just quit. And I said, I'm not going anymore.
Gotcha.
And then Dr. Dawn said, just do neurofeedback. I'll go occasionally to a counselor, but it's really just because I have to. But not being able to have someone that really, going to a counselor for PTSD from combat with a person that's never been in combat, it's kind of hard.
It is. It is. I say it a lot on the episodes. My dad has a sign in the house that he had for years, and it says, for those who have fought for it, freedom has a taste. The protected will never know. And it is, it's the same kind of thing when you're talking to someone, if they've not experienced or been in the world you've been in. A lot of times that's why I so love these groups like yours, where you can get people together to just have a conversation. Maybe it's someone that they can talk to that will understand at a different level, and you don't have to rehash everything. You just got someone you can kind of talk to every once in a while about it. That, to me, is huge, because you've got to be able to have a safe space where you can talk to them. I have to be able to talk to other kids whose parents served in the military, they'll understand my mindset versus someone whose parent wasn't in the military when they were a child would understand it, you know? So it's a really great how you have that open doorway on it. I think that's phenomenal. And I love that it is a little smaller. We have One Life organization. We had B. Taylor on our podcast before. He partners with a lot of big names because he has connection in entertainment, but he keeps it tight and he keeps it so it's just getting the help to the veteran, to the military spouse. Even first responders are included in it so that they can get the help with the PTSD they need. It's not, it's not about, ooh, I'm big, B. Taylor, look at me doing my thing. He's trying to hold on to that to keep it giving out what it needs to give.
Yeah. Well, that's one good thing about like Cherie.
Yeah.
She's also the president of American War Mothers for Nevada. And where me and Cherie really connected was her son is a combat veteran. And he's had a lot of things that have gone on real rough when he got out. He's gone the neurofeedback, but he's had some setbacks, but she's always there. And there's a lot of times she'll come to me and say, what do I do? And there's a lot of times where I tell her, you got it. Let it go. You can't do anything. Yeah. But then again, she was also there before my mom passed. She's the one that got me to go see my mom more because I was so used to being away. We're 15 minutes away and I wasn't visiting her on a regular basis. It took her getting cancer for me to start going there more. But then when her treatment, her chemo was going better, I kind of started pulling back more and I was keeping myself busy with the foundation.
Yeah.
But she was telling me, no, you need to, go talk to your mom more because she knows how my mom felt because that's how she felt when she wasn't having the contact with her son.
Yeah, I actually met Cherie the other night. She will be on the podcast, people, make no doubt. She will be on there, and probably Mama Lee will be on there too because I thought they were both phenomenal in what they did. And some of you may have noticed he's been commenting off camera to Jim, today we have a special guest in studio with us. My husband Jim is with us here today. So you have heard me talk about him doing real estate in different world. He's actually off camera over there. Okay. So now, and that's how we met. So you do like some interesting little events. And I kind of wanted to talk about because I got to go to one on Tuesday. And it's not, forgive my rough pronunciation, it's not a veteran-centric event. It is an event just to get people together, to start conversations, to help discuss problems, to help see what you guys are doing so people can contribute if they want to contribute. It's not just here we're just having this set this one way. They're varied events.
Yeah.
I love that aspect. What made you take that route with it?
Because I hate networking events.
Okay, fair enough.
And I hate events where the only focus is fundraising.
Gotcha.
A lot like how we do it at the resort, like different things, it's donation only. And the only reason we ask for donations because it pays for the next month's second Tuesday. It's not meant to fundraise for the organization. The whole idea behind Second Tuesday, and where we live, we have a thing called Wind Down Wednesday. You guys even do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot like that. It's just meant for people to hang out. But a lot of veterans won't go to an event unless it has a veteran tag on it.
Okay.
And a lot of veterans just need to get around regular people because love my veteran community, but we can be pretty negative sometimes.
Gotcha.
And so you need more positive people around you. And the idea is just, that's why rarely will you ever see me ever get up and talk. Even if we do raffles, I don't do them usually.
Gotcha.
I don't like being up, I don't do podcasts. I don't do very many. I did a thing with the Republicans Women's Club, which was the first time I got, in a long time I got up, but then I did a thing at Caesar's Palace with Global Life Insurance where I was talking to like 3,500 people. It's not the thing I really like doing. I do it if people ask me or need me to, but I don't like being the focus. I want, the programs that are helping the veterans to be the focus.
Gotcha.
The jiu-jitsu, I'm pretty much trying to get one of the guys from the gym, Jerry, to pretty much take over the veteran jiu-jitsu program. He's only a couple years younger than me, but he's a little bit more active, and he's there. part of his gym, and we're working on some stuff there. And then we have the neurofeedback program, brain pain neurofeedback. It's helped a lot of people. It's because it's non-evasive. Mm-hmm. It's not a shock therapy or nothing like that. You just you put the leads on your head. It's automatic neurofeedback, meaning the computer program makes the adjustments.
Okay.
And you're just staring at a laptop. It does these designs. You have headphones on with specific, it has to be the right ear. It has to be the left ear.
Okay.
And then every time if you're looking at these designs with your peripheral, you'll see blue or any combination of blue. You right click, and it helps to retrain your brain. I'm not having to talk about all the stuff. Uh-huh. I'm not, but it still goes after that part of the brain. So there's times I walk out where I'm worn out.
Oh, I bet.
Because it's just like when you go talk to a counselor and you get a really deep session, you walk out and you're just completely drained. Oh. It's the same thing, but within, well, if you do eyes closed, and it doesn't really mean a lot to you, but eyes closed, they have the last one, you actually close your eyes and it's just sounds. Okay. That calms you down a lot more. That one, a lot of times with that can kind of get you a little uptight because it's working that portion of your brain.
Gotcha.
But it helps. It replaces medication.
That's awesome.
And that's why I like, of course, there's different things that different people do. Like if it's
right.
physical and there's certain things I have to take for like gout or something like that, I'll take it, but I don't take pain meds.
Yeah.
I don't take benzos. I don't take any of that. They had me on them for years. Like time I was in the military, there's, Adderall and Ambien was a regular thing that we were taking, and that doesn't really help you in the long run. And so after I was out about 4 years when they said you got to stop doing this, you're going to have major issues when you get older. So I stopped doing that. So now I'm one of those really strong proponents for THC, CBD, CBG, CBC, because they all have their different things. Like a lot of times I'll take these gummies, and they're only 5 milligrams, so it's not meant to get you high. Mm-hmm. It's 5 THC, 5 CBC, which is focus, CBD, inflammatory, CBG, anxiety, and I take those, and it's better than anything the VA. That's why I'm really hoping they hurry up with their cannabis studies, so that the VA will start, allowing it more, because it does help.
Yeah, and for those of you who do not know, so though there are states that do have marijuana as a legal substance, the federal government still considers it an illegal. So if you do work in the federal space or you are dealing in federal areas, technically you're not supposed to take it, even if you have a medical card for it in the state you're in. It's kind of a back and forth battle that's going on right now where they're trying to figure out what's best. I actually saw this show, fascinated me. The scientist was working on pulling from basically the marijuana itself, the healing properties without the high going with it. Yep. And there was a young child who really suffered from seizures. Like she was, I think 3 or 4. And was testing it and would put whatever it was under her tongue to dissolve. And within like 2 minutes, she was just fine. Yep. Like her system just leveled out.
The CBD product. The CB products, all those, because they have them without the THC.
Yeah.
And they do help. It's made a huge difference for me, because even like the flour and stuff like that, even that is starting to come with CBG, and it's on there. So when one of our people that sponsor us was Mint dispensaries, they're brand new coming here, and they actually gave us a bag because we were talking about the different things. Certain brand I was using, I was talking to them about it, but they didn't carry it. But then what they did is they brought all the ones did the same exact thing, and it makes a huge difference.
I think there's a lot of different avenues that we can pursue and ways to heal. And I think that the more people understand the options, that was one of the big things when we started this podcast. The more people understood and knew where the resources were, where they could go, where they could ask questions. Painkiller wise, I feel you. My dad was, when he was in the Navy, he was the drug and alcohol counselor. Mm-hmm. So he knew what every single drug would do to him. And even when he was in his worst pain, when he was battling cancer, he would refuse meds because he was like, no, I am not going to, I will be fine. He'd be like, give me a couple of Tylenol. My whole life, my dad would be like, give me 2 Bear, I'll be just fine. upset stomach, take 2 bear, but it was the way he handled, the way he worked, and he did things, because I think, unfortunately, sometimes we don't know. Mm-hmm. We get something not knowing how our system's going to react to it. And the goal was to be helpful. Turns out not to be the right path. And so you got to be able to reach out and get that help when you need it, when you're unsure, if you're having the drama on it. Because there's a lot of stuff that could be prescribed for different things. I'm actually, there's Stevie being candid. I was at my doctor's office and we were talking, because with my age and changes happening with my hormones, the different things I could do. And one of the items they talked to me about was an antipsychotic. Mm-hmm. And I looked dead at her and I said, I'm not psychotic. Why do I need an antipsychotic? Why would I put that in my system? But that's because of how I was raised. That's the way I ask questions. I do things, it's the way I work. Because it's too easy sometimes, some of the outlets that were given to it. Whereas if we find a way to do, the jiu-jitsu is a great one. We've had a guest on, Brian Jensen. He does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He does like 8,000 things. He's getting ready to transition out of his service with the Army. He's a DJ. He's in the Army. He does jiu-jitsu. The guy's everywhere on it. But we also had Omar Foster on, and he had some combat that he dealt with, that he in his, he was dealing with some PTSD, and fitness ended up being the route for him. Yeah,
that's what the whole idea about jiu-jitsu, and that's when I talk to people about connection. Mm-hmm. When you're in the military, especially if you're in special operations, infantry, combat arms, a lot of times when we get out, we're looking for that connection, that brotherhood, but also the adrenaline. Let's be honest, what I did overseas, I can't do here legally.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so you have to find a release. For me, because, when I first started, jiu-jitsu, it was with Army combatives. Okay. And it was just real basic, but I noticed that when I was doing that, I felt better. Mm-hmm. And then I started going through a divorce, in the military. It's, I wasn't home a lot. And so divorce it happened to me a few times. And at that time I'd been sober because, I went to rehab when I was in, years ago. And I was sober for 10 years. And during that, being sober, because before that, I was blackout drunk by the time I was in 8th grade. Mm. A lot of even my friends, didn't know how much I drank, but I was a blackout drunk. The fact that I didn't kill or hurt someone much, sooner, or get in trouble much sooner, it's against the odds. I mean, right. I lived in Japan. I know there's times when I was in mainland Japan that I was driving, blackout drunk. There's times I'd wake up in a complete terror and run outside to see if the vehicle was there or if it was damaged, because what everyone else had done. Like I'd seen other people like wake up and go outside and their car's all damaged because they didn't realize they got in a huge accident or, other things. So, really, I don't know, finding something that you connect with. Mm-hmm. And with me, it became jiu-jitsu. So even when I was going through the divorce and all the other stuff, I was going to jiu-jitsu, like I was teaching and then I was training. Mm-hmm. That's what I was doing. I was keeping myself busy. And then I got out and I kept on doing it. So I realized that was my connection. Mm-hmm. And then you got like Forgotten Not Gone, which is another local nonprofit. Peter and Kelly, great people. Our first partnership when we started, and they do recumbent bikes, electric assisted bikes. Okay. And they've been to our second Tuesday even at the resort, and there's people like riding bikes, and there you get the vets that can no longer because of their injuries. Well, they have recumbent bikes. They have ones you can sit down. They have ones you can use your hands on. Everything you need. That's awesome. So we'll say, well, have you talked to Peter and Kelly? And then you got other people like horses. And then there's Horses for Heroes. It used to be Spirit Therapies, but she retired and moved out. Okay. And then as of last year, I was actually a member of Ponies North. I don't know, I forgot it. Where they were rescuing Mustangs. And then we started a ride last year. Unfortunately, the guy the CEO on the ride, got thrown from a horse and was in the ICU. And we had to take 2 horses out of the rotation, which means we couldn't do it. So we ended up only making like a couple of weeks and we're done. And we had to they're resetting everything now. But it was all about what people connected with.
Right.
You know, like one of the first things I always tell people about is merging vets and players, MVP. It's at Randy's gym. It was started by Nate Boyer and Jay Glazer from ESPN.
Gotcha.
Or wherever he is now. I don't know if he's still there. And it's former pro athletes and combat vets. Now that it's all vets, but it used to be only combat vets. But now that we don't have the deployments like we used to, the veterans now are coming out with no combat. So they still have the program for them. So when I'm talking to someone or when Cherie's talking to someone, we're trying to find out what they connect with.
Right.
And does it bring in more money for me? No, but that's not my focus. I'm not trying to get rich. I've never tried to get rich. Actually, the foundation, I never got a stipend or anything until last year when Cherie's like, you got to pay yourself something. So I was giving myself a small stipend. We pay her one, because I put in the bylaws that, the other people have to be paid before me. I'm the last person in the staff that can be paid.
Gotcha.
So she was getting paid, and then when our money started going down, I stopped mine. We make sure she's still getting paid, because that's what she does. When people call, it's mostly Cherie that answers it, and then she talks to them, and then she will find, like Cherie's, when you talk to her, she's very well connected in the local community. Like she's everywhere. If you want to know about a veteran organization, or a person, or Cherie's a good person to talk to, and on her side of politics, she knows a lot of the politicians. I don't deal with politicians. That's not my thing.
I don't like politics.
When they call, they want to meet. I'm like, oh, well, you can talk to Cherie. And we used to have, a guy, Mark Godetzer. He does I forgot what he calls it now. Steak Wars is a barbecue. It's for, mental health.
Gotcha.
He was the person on a liberal side. So I would send that to which other person, because it's not my thing. It's never been my thing. Like a lot of times like, oh, we just want to bring awareness of suicide. Like, we don't need awareness. We need action.
Right.
As I can tell you can talk to me about action and what action you're going to take. I don't want to talk to you. You can go talk to somebody else.
It's so key, because that's one of the things I think a lot of times people say the right thing. You can say that all day long. Actually doing something about it is what's going to make a difference in it, and where it's going to go, and what's going to provide value, and what's going to help people in the end. And you're going to be able to do things that I'm not going to be able to do, but there's an avenue I have where I can help in a different way. If all of us start taking our little steps and standing up in little ways and helping, it's going to make a world of difference to it. It's really going to help a lot for these military families. Because, you brought up the fact that one group now is not just combat vets. It's amazing what veterans go through. Sometimes they don't have to see combat to have stuff mess with their head, to have gone through something hard to do. You're not weak or unimportant or anything, whether it was combat or not. Everybody has value. Everybody has worth. We need to make sure everybody can have the help they need to get where they need to go. I love, you're just so candid. I absolutely adore it. Sobriety is one of the things we've talked about on here. We had one of our guests, our military spouse, Maggie Jensen, does Magnify Maggie, where she helps out with life coach with sobriety stuff as that. My own Robert touts his sobriety. He's been doing good. Just 11 years, just hit 11 years on it. It's something we need to talk about, because I don't think people are yet comfortable talking about it, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Crap happens.
And like with me, I was sober for 10 years, and then, I met my late wife, and I started drinking again. One thing I don't do is if I'm too happy or too sad, I don't drink.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
There was a couple of times where I was really sad, and I, drank a lot. And of course I was just sitting on, in an RV. So it's not like I would, I was going anywhere. But now I'm back down to where I think I had, I didn't have anything at Second Tuesday. I think I had one beer this week. Because I was just noticing I wasn't. Part of it is I did neurofeedback, and part of my protocol was addiction.
Gotcha.
And so my brain is not accepting it the same way it used to. And so And that's why I really stand by neurofeedback, because, you know, I wasn't doing it. I was drinking a lot more than my wife had wanted me to. I started doing neurofeedback and my drinking went down. I noticed it more. I don't know, even know if she noticed it, you know.
I'm so fascinated by this neurofeedback. I haven't heard of this before, so I love this, that this is an avenue and a way to go down, and
the VA,
it's helping
the
you.
VA approves it and pays for it.
Oh, and the VA approves it and pays for it.
Yeah. And
love it. Mic drop.
If they don't, we've done veterans and first responders on grants, and we do it. We don't turn anyone.
that.
We don't turn anyone back. With us, it comes. Do we have the space at the time? Mm-hmm. You know, because when Massey closes their shop back up for a while to regroup and open it again, there has to be a place that they can go in that interim time. I might be doing help her out with a couple house calls or something like that, or have them, you know, meet me somewhere, because it's not like. It might look weird somewhere, but I'll find a place for them to do it.
Gotcha.
But it does help. And,
apparently that's amazing, and that it's undiscriminatory. It can work for the veteran. It can work for the spouse. It can work for anybody who needs it, and I love that. That's
right now we have a SEAL and his wife, and you know, retired, that are both doing it.
Oh wow! Okay.
You know, we've had. A local officer go through it.
Okay.
When he went through something, and he paid it on his own. He wanted to go. He wanted to help himself, but he didn't want it part of his stuff. You know, it's one of those things that helps you. There's no like side effects from it.
Okay.
So it's not like it would hurt anyone to go to it and not tell anyone to go. They're going to it. Some people just don't want people to know they're going to it. So they're not using the VA. There's people that come that refuse to use the VA. Because they don't want the VA to use against them, because they're doing something good for themselves. I did the full protocol. I'm still messed up. It's not like it all of a sudden like, oh, all right, now you can go back to work. No,
everything's good now.
But it does help. The part that helped me the most, I'd say, was one with the drinking, because I noticed I like a beer, but anything past that, I'm not. And that I was never that way.
Okay.
Just like the whole, you know, AA thing. As soon as I picked up one, it was okay. I woke up the next morning, and I you know, there's questions people ask me like, how many times? I can't answer a lot of questions, because I was a blackout drinker.
Wow.
And you know, and that slowed my career a lot. That, you know, destroyed a family. That it does a lot. You know, and that's why one of the things that I do know is they're looking into neurofeedback in the military as part, like, you know, and when I talked to one of our board members, retired SEAC, senior enlisted advisor to the chairman, John Wayne Troxel, and I talked to him one time a few years back, and he was saying that they're looking at that, because I can tell from me actually doing it and being, you know, in special operations and being in the infantry, that if our medics, you know, and on teams, even the combo guy, because a tech just needs to know how to look at a computer, turn it on, and put the things in the right place. They're not the one, they don't read anything. It's just like an X-ray tech. But having that and a thing called alpha stim, which you put them on your ears. It's kind of like when you turn it on, it kind of pinches your ears, but it works on the alpha waves and everything.
Okay.
But so the alpha stim is like taking an aspirin.
Oh.
And neurofeedback is like going in for a procedure.
Huh.
One bides you over until you get your procedure. The other one fixes the problem as well as it can. And that's the best way to explain it. So I always encourage people that, and there's other treatments besides neurofeedback. Neurofeedback is just what I know.
Gotcha.
There are other treatments I have out there now, but there's some of them. There's a lot of like stuff that goes on, like knocking on the head. Like somebody just described some of their treatments, why they didn't like it. I like neurofeedback because I'm just staring at a screen and right clicking.
Okay.
And and I'm not talking. I don't have to sit there and explain. The only time you talk is at the beginning, and it's like it's the Minnesota multifacet inventory.
Okay.
And we do a modified one. It's like only, instead of being 3 hours long like that test, when you go to psychiatrists and they're trying to see where you're going and you ask that yes or no question, it's like the same question 50 different ways. This, it's only 15 to 20 minutes, and it's yes or no questions, and how it does your protocol. Okay. And then going off how it reads it, and when the doctor reviews it, that's when it makes adjustments. But the protocol can be adjusted quicker because it's done by a computer. It's not being done by a person with knobs, like the old biofeedback used to be.
Yeah.
So finding out, what actually works for you.
Yeah.
And having and knowing where to go is something that could really help people. But that's the whole thing. The whole idea is when we meet with someone, we actually have a conversation and say, okay, what are your interests? Mm-hmm. It's not because I want to go hang out with you. It's to find out maybe I can find you someone to go hang out with.
There you go.
Because I don't ride long bikes anymore. I'm talking about like doing road bikes. There's a veteran road bike club here, 702 Vets or something like that, that do that. I can't do that anymore.
Gotcha.
Now and even in jiu-jitsu, I'm at the teaching mode now. I'm not competing, and my body doesn't hold up. I mean, I demonstrated a triangle, a couple months back, and my back went out. I didn't even do the move, but teaching helps, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So just, getting people to find the right medical avenue, mm-hmm. and then finding them the right outlet when they're not dealing with medical. Mm-hmm. If you have those and a good support system, and if you don't have a good family support system, that's where the veteran community comes in. Mm-hmm. So having all those legs on your stool can help a lot, because unfortunately, even after getting out, I've been out for 12 years, 13 years.
Okay.
No, 12 years. Still lost several friends since then.
Yeah.
Leaders, friends, family members, to that. And unfortunately, you can't save everyone.
No, you can't.
But it's the ones you can,
that are worth it. Mm-hmm.
And like with my own personal experience, and not even the first time, but the one of the major times I was in Iraq. I was a platoon sergeant. 2011. We were in the last actual units patrolling outside bases. Okay. In Bakuba, Iraq, and unfortunately, I was getting some messages from home, mm-hmm. and up front, I'll tell everyone I had good family support. I had good friend support with my friends, but everyone has an edge, and I got to that edge, and I had my weapon out. It was cocked. It was against my head, and I heard people walk onto my patio in Iraq. You have to choose. I'm a platoon sergeant, so it's just me and I'm a lieutenant, and so I knew someone walking onto it was my soldiers. So I kind of paused, and I got a knock at the door, and I opened it up, and they're like, "Hey, Sergeant, want to go play basketball?" And that right there reset me. So, hey, hold on a second. I went back, picked my weapon back on, uncocked it, put it on safe, put it in my go bag, and went and played basketball. And then another time, I just found out that my youngest daughter wasn't my biological daughter. And I was home, and I was calling all my family, talking to them, and they thought I was just, taking time up. And I wasn't. I was saying bye. And they didn't realize it. And then a friend of mine called me. And because he knew the situation, he knew everyone involved, and he said, "Hey, I know things are rough, man. When you get home, let's go hang out." And I said, "All right." And I talked about it a minute later, hung up, and I was reset again. And that's one of the things I started realizing. It was the connection.
Yeah.
I've had a phone call, a text, a knock on the door, and a message on Facebook. Those are 4 times that saved me.
Yeah.
And so now I tell people, hey, be the phone call, be the text. If you feel like, man, I haven't talked to so-and-so, that's the 6th sense telling you need to reach out.
Right.
And more than a few times when I've reached out to people, they said, you don't realize what I'm doing right now. And then we end up having a long conversation, and they're reset. And so that connection resets people. A lot of times it's not that they don't have family.
Right.
It's not that they don't have a good support system, a good job. It's, the way I describe it to people sometimes is, it's amazing to be a hero to to a lot of people, but it also hurts that I'm a monster to a lot of others.
Yeah.
Because if you're a hero to one group of people, you're always going to be a monster to the other side.
Yeah.
And a lot of veterans have to deal with that.
Yes.
And they have to deal with things like, not friendly fire, but there's no really acceptable loss when it comes to, to women and children and stuff like that, but it happens. And when service members find out that that's happened and it came out of their weapon, that affects people. And my last deployment, we were doing patrols with guys. These guys were actually fighting against the last time they were there, like a year or two before that. And then having to, be told that you need to engage the juveniles when they come running up because they're throwing shaped charge, grenades and killing people. They're freaking out about it. Luckily for me, I had some buddies on some teams there, and they were leaving, so they gave us some Nerf shotgun rounds. Hurt very bad, but doesn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
And, it helped because one of my guys, as soon as we gave them the order that they had to start engaging, one of the guys didn't sleep for almost 3 days, started hallucinating, was talking about babies walking in the street. And, someone came up and told me, hey, something's going on with him. And I went and talked to him in the chow hall and automatically took his weapon from him, gave him, and I had to have him escorted to mental health for a few days.
Yeah.
But that came from the stress of being told he was going to have to do something that morally he didn't feel right.
Yeah.
But it's bottom line. It's when they come up throwing rocks, first they're testing you. And then the next one that comes up is going to be killing you. And that was hurting people. That was really, because no one wants to hurt.
No. You don't.
A kid or a woman. Yeah. They're not part of the fight.
No.
So being able to have something like that. So even back then I noticed if there's a way you can find a way to mitigate something without making it worse or making your symptoms worse, it's a good thing to do. Like, hey, I can go to jiu-jitsu, I can choke some guy out, I can...
One way to look at
it. I can, beat him up on the floor and then we get up, shake hands and hug.
Yeah.
It's better than going out down the street and doing the same exact thing, because there's times that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I can't do what I used to do.
Understood. And thank you, because what you just discussed, what you were just willing to share, what you were just willing to talk about, there's going to be at least one, if not more people who will see this episode and you will help them reset.
Yeah.
Because you're so willing to be so straightforward on it. And that I appreciate greatly. I love that your 22 Warriors Foundation says until 22 becomes 0. Where did you guys come up with that?
Just sitting around talking, because we were talking to someone and they mentioned the number 22, and I'm like, 22? So I started Googling it, and then it said that's the number of veterans that commit suicide daily. But a lot of people don't realize that study was done in 2011.
Yep.
It was only done with 21 states.
Yep.
California was not one of the states.
Yep.
It didn't include Korea or older veterans, and it didn't include homeless.
Yep.
And it didn't include the adrenaline forced deaths.
Yep. Because
a lot of things that we do when we get out is, hey, if I jumped out of airplanes, I was a Marov's guy, zipping around on Zodiacs, doing all kinds of, fast roping out of airplanes, jumping into the water not fast roping out of helicopters. Kind of hard to fast rope out of an airplane. But running and jumping, helocasting or running and jumping out of the back of a stuff. It's where do you find that type of adrenaline in the civilian world?
Oh, yeah. We had Omar Foster was on our podcast, and he was in a motorcycle accident. He had the motorcycle going over 150 miles an hour. It was in an accident from it. But I don't think at the time it realized to him that was, for lack of a better word, the drug of choice was the adrenaline push with it, which is a very, very common thing you deal with some people who are more in that upfront area of it. That is an area they go. When
I lost a few of my soldiers when I got back, one of them, Specialist Jong Lee, He was Korean, you know, traditional, and you know, he great soldier. Anything I said for Lee to do, he would get done. However, he probably said 10 sentences total to me, in the whole time I was there. Yes, sir, no, sir. That's pretty much it. His best friend was his team leader, but he found out when he went to leadership school that it wasn't for him. And he voluntarily withdrew. And by this time, I was at the fight house teaching combatives and stuff. And I get a call one night, and they said, "Hey, we got to go find Lee. He's out. He wrote a note. And he's gonna kill himself." And so we all jumped in our cars and we're looking for him. And sure enough, he drove his brand new Camaro 120 miles an hour into an underpass, Killeen, Texas. And then shortly after that, we had another soldier. He was just out riding, but he's riding, you know, a motorcycle out, and he lost control and hit a pole, and he died. And that's the adrenaline one. You know, he was seeking that adrenaline. Travis Penny. I mean, he's one of my more smart ass, you know, specialists. But I knew whatever he needed done. I mean, my guys were good. You know, and we were the black sheep. You know, I was sheep herder 7. You know. Of course, a lieutenant, I called him Bo Peep.
I love it.
But, you know, we just started losing people when we got back. We lost nobody over there.
Wow.
We lost them when we got back.
They lost them when you got back.
And we're still losing them. We just lost a guy, not from my platoon, but from one of the other platoons just recently. And that's why for a while, I didn't even think I had the emotion anymore to get upset. Republican Women's Club found out that I still have emotion because when I'll talk about my late wife usually at the beginning. Okay. To gauge where my conversation is going to go, because if I start getting upset, and I still do, like I did there, so I completely went a different direction. But after her death, I found out I still had emotion besides anger. Most people know me. I have a very same expression all the time. Part of it's because I have nerve damage, like I can't smile. If I smile, my face shakes. Gotcha. But some of it, I don't get emotional on. I have a flash temper if I lose it. But I let it go really quick. Okay. You know, which apparently women don't like it. You know, because 5 minutes later, I'm like, "Hey, let's go get some pizza." You know, and
that's okay. No, I'm not a fan of emotions. I know I have them. I accept I have them, but I tell people all the time I hate having emotions. And I found the older I get, the more emotional I get. It drives me insane a little bit because I just would rather keep things pretty even keel and handle the situation. I mean, I'm the director of security for an international staffing company. I deal and interact and hear about some messed up crap. So you have to be level. When you're handling it, you know, and then afterwards, after the situation is resolved and everything, then you have your moment to react to it. But it's a different thing now as I'm getting older, and I do have extra hormones I didn't have running around and all the sudden stuff. Oh my God, it's a tornado! I'm like, are you okay? Give me a minute. I don't know why. It's something that I struggle with doing what I do for a living because I have to be the calm, cool, collected one and handle the situation first. And it is different.
And that's was kind of difference being in like special operations than being in infantry. Infantry, it's the only one that has to be calm is really the platoon sergeant and the LT. Once if they say go, then it goes. You know, in the special operations, you have to be calm until you can't be calm anymore. Gotcha. And so, you know, a couple of decades of that, you know, you come out and I always, you know, I went. You know, when I really kind of started worrying is I went to my uncle's funeral and I had no emotion. But it was when he passed away and he was like a second father to me. And when they said, "Hey, you need to go see him," I already knew that I wasn't going to react where people expect me because I was emotional as a kid. Oh, okay. I'm not the way I used to be. Like even when my brother passed away when I was going through the course, I was very emotional on him because we were very close. He was my adopted brother. We were almost the same age, so we were very close, but we hadn't spoken in a couple of years. So I took it really hard. But the last 12 years of my career, it kind of changed me. You know, and I said no, and they were kind of upset with me, and I get to the funeral, and everyone's obviously upset. I'm upset, but I'm just not showing emotion. Gotcha. And some of them noticed, and they're like, "What's wrong with Billy?" Mm-hmm. And it was, I'm like, I don't feel the same way anymore about stuff like that. But when my wife, took her life,
that one you felt, yeah, and you would, and it's inevitable. We lost my father October 21. Mm-hmm. Kicks my butt every time. Every time I talk about it, kicks my butt. Mm-hmm. But then we have someone like you coming in, being so candid, telling us that you really don't deal with the emotions that much, but knowing that you still have them, opening that door that it is okay if maybe you're not feeling that right now, but that you still have that possibly in you, giving people a shot to know that they are okay. They can work through this. They can get through this. There are other people out there willing to help them and to guide them and to support them and be there for them. And you have given so much in your service to the country. But my God, my friend, you have given so much more in your service to your fellow veterans and to the military family members who support those veterans as well. Mm-hmm. And that alone, I can't explain to you the level of gratitude I have for what you do and where you affect and where you are. And I thank you so very much for coming here today, to being a part of this with us today. And I look forward to opportunities for Homefront to partner with you guys and your team in the future to get here, because it will mean the world and we can help more people with it. Yeah. So thank you so very much for being here and for your candid honesty and just being you. We really appreciate you, and you are very important. So keep on fighting and keep on doing what you're doing. Okay, my friend?
Yeah, appreciate it.
Outstanding. All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's time to like, follow, share, subscribe, make a note. Website coming. So excited. So you're going to want to make sure to be on that one here. Thank you for joining us today. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Find me on LinkedIn. All right, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Covered now with lines increasing, tickets torn in half.